This is my field study on the emerging adulthood category of emerging adolescence. My name is Anya Hansen, and I am excited to share my presentation and findings with you. So, the question of focus that I chose was, what are the factors that influence emerging adults feeling prepared, both positively and negatively, for the stage of adulthood? This question really stemmed from my personal experience of feeling not so prepared for adulthood, and I really just wanted to do more digging into what goes into that. What goes into, financial preparedness, emotional, just feeling ready to be kind of out on your own. So, yeah, I just really wanted to look into that more and find out, why maybe I didn't feel so prepared, or maybe why it seems like other people my age seem much more prepared. And so I'm ready to get into what I found, and let's get into it. So, the first person I chose to interview was a friend. I'll call her Ashley. And I wanted to interview her really because she is in kind of a different stage than I am, even though we're the same age. I knew that she would have some really good insight on maybe why she's not so prepared. And I just, thought that she would have some good answers to my questions. But to kind of sum up the key points that I think I got from Ashley was really, I'll read this quote. She said, "I wish I knew that saving money early on is something that would have made me feel most prepared for moving out and being a quote-unquote real adult. I don't think anyone made it clear enough that building good money habits is essential." And this really spoke out to me because I feel like I also didn't have good money habits growing up, and no one really ever really taught me that saving money is good, which I know should be kind of like common sense, but spending is easy, and you don't really look into saving money to move into an apartment or get a car until the moment is there. You're like, I want to move out now. I need money. Anyways, I think that financial stability is something that really contributes to that feeling of financial preparedness, and I think Ashley just makes a good point. And the second point that she made that I felt was important was she said, "My parents provided me with a lot of love and support whenever I was going through a tough time. I also had other family that were involved in my life and made me feel seen." And I really think that the obvious point with this one is just feeling supported emotionally throughout any stage before your emerging adulthood. So maybe like early middle adolescence, the teenage years. I just think that this is going to be one of the key things that if I were to ask maybe like 15 people what they thought emotional support, I think would be something that they would say is essential in emerging adolescence. So I will just move straight on here to my second interview that I did, which was with my cousin. I will call her Lexi. I chose to do my interview with Lexi because she is in a different stage than I am also, kind of. I mean, we're both in the emerging adulthood stage, but she is kind of just in a different spot in her life, I would say, even though we're the same age. So she, just for context, she lives at home, and she did move out to go to college for a couple years, and we did go to the same college the first couple years. We both lived on campus. It's about 2 hours away from home for us. And it was really nice getting to be around her, and kind of see what she's like out on her own. But we both did decide to move back home. I ended up moving into an apartment. She still lives at home. So I just really thought it would be good perspective to get from somebody that is still living at home when I am not. So I'll jump into the first quote that I have from Lexi. She said, "Even though my parents paid for all of my expenses growing up and in college, they still taught me good money habits and that having at least some savings is good for starting out on your own." So a topic that we talked about a lot was savings and financial stability, and maybe how that can impact your feeling of being prepared going into emerging adulthood. And I think I was a little surprised to hear that she still learned good money habits because, growing up, her parents did pay for everything. I would say maybe they kind of like babied her growing up just with a lot of things. Like, I don't think it's bad that they offered her financial support or emotional support or anything. I guess from my perspective, I think that kind of like throwing someone in the pool to teach them how to swim is the best method sometimes. And I feel that way about life experiences. Like, you got to go through it to learn it, which I know some might not agree with that point. But anyways, I just think that money habits and financial stability really is one of those things that will make someone feel a lot more prepared going into, their early 20s, late, 19, 20, 23, around those ages. Going into move into an apartment is a lot easier and a lot more accessible if you have some savings, or if someone in your life has taught you, how to build your money habits so that you're able to do things like that. And then the second thing I thought that was important that she said was, "I wish my parents had taught me to be more independent, not with money, but emotionally and with school and other parts of life. I don't think that them taking care of every single thing was helpful to me getting ready to be on my own." And I think I was a little surprised by this point, just because it was the opposite feeling that she had with finances. Um, Emotional support is important, and I do agree with her that I think that if parents or guardians or whatever adult in the adolescent's life teaches them to be more independent, emotionally and with their studying habits and things like that, they'll feel a lot more prepared to be out on their own, living maybe alone in an apartment, or just with a significant other in your apartment, or a house, or wherever you're living, just not, not where you grew up, not like in a place that you're used to being. So I really do think that I got a lot of good content with my interviews with Ashley and Lexi, and I will get into a little bit of the other points that I have. So one article that I got into was called "Feeling Needed and Useful During the Transition to Young Adulthood." This was one in our coursework that I found, and anyways, I have a little blurb here to guide us. I said this article brings up the fact that social relationships provide late adolescents with, quote, the opportunity to be needed and useful at a time when they are seeking to establish their peace in the social world. It also discusses the feeling of being needed and useful leads to better received support and psychological well-being. I think this is something I was surprised that neither of my interviewees brought up, the feeling of like them feeling needed and them feeling useful helps them to feel more prepared to be on their own and maybe support themselves. Maybe they didn't feel needed or useful, and so it was just something that they really didn't think about, or maybe they felt very needed and very useful in their family and their friends' lives, um, and so they didn't think about it. Um, anyways, I really think that I agree with this point, and I think this is one of the one of the essential things that goes into making a young adult feel prepared for the emerging adulthood time in their life. So let's see. Another article that I got into was called Emerging Adulthood as a Critical Stage in the Life Course. And I said that this article supports the points that having a higher quality relationship with the parents or parent encourages a smoother transition during emerging adolescence. It talks about the attachment theory that positive bonding with an emotionally available adult during early childhood facilitates the development of the child's capacity to bond with others and respond to stressful events. I can totally, I've definitely seen this in my life. I think maybe in Lexi's situation, the positive bonding with her parents, both being emotionally available and supporting them, definitely helped her in bonding with others. She's, a very friendly and outgoing person, and I really think that her parents helped with this, and she does respond well to stressful events. So I really think that the attachment theory holds up in that situation, and I definitely think that it is a very common thing that can be seen. And I also said that the article discusses the fact that adolescents that grow up in poverty tend to delay enrollment into higher education, which has proven to lead to poor financial stability and health. It brings up another point of education that I also never really thought of, and that neither of my interviewees brought up either, of the fact that going into higher education, past just like maybe getting through high school and doing more education past high school will create a feeling of stability and maybe accomplishment. And I know that college is not for everyone. Obviously, we're all here, but I know that it's not always like the most fulfilling thing for someone to do. People might do it for a year or two and decide that it's not for them and feel a lot better with that decision than if they were to stick it out and get their degree. But I kind of was unsure about the article saying that not enrolling in higher education, or maybe like delaying enrollment into higher education leads to poor financial stability and health. I don't think necessarily that these two are directly correlated. Like, I don't think that not going to college or delaying enrollment to college will make you have poor health or poor financial stability. I think that it would have a positive impact to where you could feel even more financially stable if you do get a degree and you get maybe a higher paying job because of that. But I don't think that necessarily people struggle if they don't have a college education or some sort of degree or certification. So after all of my research and looking into all of the elements of that my interviewees and the articles that I went into brought up about feeling prepared, I've chosen these main factors that influence adults feeling prepared for adulthood. The first one, I feel like it's the biggest one, which is financial preparedness. Starting off with a savings, being equipped with good saving and spending habits, and making good financial decisions. Like I said before, I just really think that it is essential. I personally was lucky enough to have enough finances to move into my own apartment, because I really don't think that
if I were to stay, in my parents' house for longer, I just don't think that it would have been good for my mental health necessarily. So my financial preparedness helped me in feeling, mentally ready to take on adulthood. Um, and then my next big factor is emotional support and distance. This wasn't one that anyone talked about much in my interviews, but I really just feel personally that it is important. And just that support from the microsystem and mesosystem, and then distance to encourage independence, and just like a healthy balance between these two. Support from your family members, your friends, your teachers, your whoever, is great in feeling like you are ready and confident to take on adulthood, but at the same time not smothering with too much support or advice, or you know I just think that giving a little bit of distance to encourage the independence that you're going to need in adulthood is important. And the last is education. I definitely found that in some of the studies in that last article I was talking about, that completing high school is essential just in feeling accomplished, going into adulthood, and then enrolling in higher education. Um, not not saying that enrolling in higher education specifically is the important factor, but enrolling or not enrolling can depend on the individual. Some people might feel like if they weren't financially prepared enough to enroll in college, they would be disappointed in themselves, and feel like they are not as accomplished. But in turn, that there are some that choose not to go to college, and it makes them feel great that they are done with their high school education and that they don't have to do any more school, or um, just the factor of education in general. Um, I feel is important in feeling prepared, or maybe not feeling so prepared, going into the world of adulthood. This is just a list of my sources where I got a couple of my facts from the two articles that I talked about listed here. And I just thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate any feedback, and thank you so much.